can you tell us about yourself, what you do? Yeah.
Sure. My name is Tracy Kwiker. I have a consulting practice called Illuminative, and my area is working with entrepreneurs, such as yourselves, to truly tease out and distill down the problem that you're trying to solve, your solution, and the customer who is going to be happy to pull their wallet out of their pocket and pay for that solution to solve their problems. And what I'd like to do, if I have your permission, is to spend just a little time telling you about my story. And I happen to be a senior in high school, and I was watching the rhythmic gymnastics competition of the Goodwill Games, and I was absolutely mesmerized by the Russian team. Not so much because they were phenomenal gymnasts, but because, quite frankly, they looked just like me. And this was during the height of tension in the Cold War with the big bad Soviets. And I decided literally that day, at that moment, I was going to study Russian, and I was going to go there myself and study abroad and go figure out whether these big bad Russians were really so big and so bad. And quickly found out that there were only 2 programs in the entire United States at that time that allowed American students to study abroad in the then Soviet Union. So I found a professor at UCLA who was a native Russian speaker, and I ended up doing a private summer study. And it was at that point that I absolutely fell in love with the Russian language, with the Russian people, with the Russian culture, and then applied to study abroad in Moscow and was admitted. I just fell in love with it. I mean, what I already thought I was in love with, I really, really fell in love with it. Well, about 2 weeks before finals, I get this call from this man, and he says, I have been hired by the Soviet government to take responsibility for all of the hotel and transportation arrangements for a global symposium comprised of former, past presidents and prime ministers from around the world. And he said, I have a problem. He said, all of these government dignitaries speak English, but none of them speak Russian. And none of the employees at this hotel speak English. So there was going to be no way for all of these former presidents and prime ministers to communicate with the Russian staff. So he said, can you come help me? And I thought, yeah, okay, this is like manna from heaven. Like, are you kidding me? I'm 22 years old. You're asking me to go basically take care of former presidents and prime ministers from all over the world in the Soviet Union? Yeah, I'm in. When do you need me? Well, I decided, I got to figure this out. So I went and talked to each one of my teachers. I worked with each and every one of them to figure out how I was going to work around it, pack my bags, and off I went. The reason why I'm telling you all of this is because I realized that once I got there, I had a great opportunity that had fallen into my lap. And so every single meal, I made a point of going through and scanning the room and seeing if there was an American in the room. The token 1 or 2, and they all happened to be there because I had connections and they were pioneers doing business there at that time. And I decided I'm going to go just march up to one of these Americans every single meal, sit down, introduce myself, and say, let's have breakfast together. And one of these gentlemen was the chairman of a very well-known Russian-American joint venture between Radisson Hotels in Tourist, which was the Soviet state tourist agency, and the company that I ended up going to work for, which was Americom International. They had created a Western-style, Western standard hotel and business center that was going to service multinational companies that wanted to come in, test the waters, but didn't want to invest a lot in infrastructure, didn't want to bear the risk. And through meeting with this gentleman, within a week of graduation, I had a job. And within about 3-4 weeks of starting my job, I got a call from the president of the company, who was in Moscow at that point. And he said, we have some trade delegation coming, some American trade delegation, and I need your help. Pack a bag, get here. In 3 days, thinking I was going to go on a 2-week business trip. And I ended up staying and working and living there professionally for the next 3 years of my life. It was something I should have never been able to do, but somehow here I was working in Moscow with all of these professionals helping to bring capitalism to a communist country. It was the most incredible startup experience I could possibly imagine. Take stock and really listen to yourself. Use your intuition about what you're good at and what you like to do. Because if you pick a passion, right, if you pick a passion and you're really not that passionate about it, it'll show through. Figuring out and being really truthful with yourself about what it is that you're good at, what it is that you like to do. Not what your parents think you're good at, not what your parents want you to do, not what your friends think you're good at, what your friends think you should do, but what you think you're good at and what you like to do. Not what you think you should be doing. Then you gotta have what I call your peripheral vision up. A lot of people end up having those blinders on. So they're so focused that they miss what's happening over here, out to the right and out to the left. So once you know what you like, then let the universe come to you. You gotta be open to it, and by being open to it, you'll attract it. But you gotta put it out there. You've got to be ready to change your story. And when I say your story, I don't mean what you say, but like your life story, right? On a dime. If an opportunity presents itself, you've got to be prepared to seize it. And they can come in the strangest of ways and at the strangest of times. First, you got to see it, and then you've got to be prepared to put that brave face on and do what you need to do to seize it, no matter how awkward or uncomfortable it may make you. Because the worst thing that'll happen is that it doesn't work. It's not what you know, oftentimes it's who you know. And the more people you can build in this cadre of supporters, your network, the more you will have opportunities land in your lap. And exploring those opportunities, if they do land in your lap, saying, you know what, I'm going to figure this out because this is going to either help me rule something in or help me rule something out. And both of those are valuable experiences. If some great opportunity that conflicts comes your way, it just may be that Russia opportunity. You have to get out there. You can't do it sitting.
You gotta be a risk taker.
You gotta be a risk taker, but you have to just put yourself out in the world, exposing yourself to a wide breadth of experiences, and then letting that intuition guide you as to whether you are intrigued and want to know more, or you're like, not so interested. Understanding at your age what you don't like to do and what just isn't resonating with you is as important. It's as valuable as finding something that you are interested in and that you do like to do. Find an opportunity that will allow you to explore what that potential passion really would look like if you were to deploy it in a professional way. In the process of opening doors, it is okay to not know what your passion is. You feel a lot of pressure from yourself, from your parents, from your friends, from people sitting in environments like this saying, well, you have to know your passion. There is such a thing as sitting in the question. Sit in the question. Let it stew for a while, right? This sitting in the question process and being aware, having the peripheral vision open, saying, well, yeah, okay, so I'm in neuroscience, but wow, I have this hobby over here, I have this hobby over here, and well, how could that play a role? Or maybe I just want to go do something different. If you look at my career after Russia, there's nothing to do with Russia. There's never been anything after I came back to Harvard Business School to get my degree. I never looked back. And my father had always said, my whole life was figure out what your hobby is and then figure out how to make money at it. And I decided after many years of volunteering for these kinds of organizations and doing every job. The VP of events, the VP of membership, the secretary, the treasurer, the president, you name it, I did the job for free. I thought, you know what? Maybe I can create a business out of this. And I did. It has nothing to do with Russia. And now certainly what I do today has nothing to do with that or the other business that I built and ran for almost a decade. But all three, the thread that binds them is that they all started out as something that I really liked doing. I find it fun. I look forward to doing it, whether it was talking in Russian or whether it was working on some event as a volunteer or doing what I do now, which is helping people really think through what their value proposition is and cleverly crafting their pitch materials. Just playing with language is fun for me. I get a kick out of it. Be honest with yourself about what you really find fun and what you actually really like to do and what you don't find fun. Steer towards ideas that you really want to do anyways.
Let's give Tracy a hand.